Hello learners, welcome to our session today. I am your instructor CPA ARINGO FREDRICK. In our class today, my good students, is a continuation of what we started earlier on. Remember, we introduced the concept of discounting techniques, and under discounting techniques, remember the main concept was that we are looking at our equivalent present value for what? For our future cash flows, for the future cash flows, right? And we mentioned we had three components. The first component was discounting at state of lump sum, discounting at annuity, and discounting at annuity with infinity. In our last class, we had talked about the aspect of discounting, but we mentioned the aspect to do with lump sum. Lump sum, remember we were mentioning that at this point, we are kind of receiving or paying this amount at once. Also, under the same case of lump sum, we are looking at in the event that we are having irregular cash flows that we'll be having over a given period of time. In our class today, my good students, I want us to learn two concepts. The first concept is the aspect to do with using our present value table. And the second aspect is when I am given this interest on, say, semi-annually basis or quarterly basis. These are the two concepts that I want us to learn today. We start by using our present value table. Because recall our factor under present value, we'll be talking of this factor. To determine the present value interest factor, let me just rewrite it here. To determine the present value interest factor given a certain rate and the number of period, we mention that factor where we are talking of 1 plus r raised power negative n. Right? The same concept, my good student, we can use our table. In the event that probably you are in your examination and you've seen that, the table will assist you very clearly. In that case, we normally tend to use the present value interest factor table. This table I'm going to share with us and see, suppose you are to do this question and we are not using our calculators. Suppose you are to do this question and you are not using your calculators. Maybe you are just using our tables. What were we supposed to do? So this table, I'm going to share it here. This is our table. Present value interest factor table. I'll share the table on our screen. I believe all of us can be able to see that table. In our question, we are told that we are having calculate the present value of the following cash flows for 4 years at interest rate of 10% per annum. At interest rate of 10% per annum. So our present value at this point, I'm given the interest of 10%. So how will you read that in your table? For year 1 up to the year that you are given. This is how we are going to do it. Check, we have the period. In this, the first column, we have the period. Then on the row, we have our percentage, right? I need to determine our interest. I need to determine our factor, present value factor, year 1, given 10% being our interest. How will you do it? Look at our row on these percentages. Track where we have 10%. Like in this case, we do have 10% at that point, right? So on the 10%, match it with period 1, which in this case is year 1. So 10% period 1, we can clearly see we have 0.9091. That is our factor year 1. That is our factor year 1. And if you can clearly look at here, when we did with our calculator, we also determine the same amount, the same factor, 0.9091. What about year 2? Year 2, the same concept my good student will apply. Come and check your table. the same procedure will apply. Look at our row where we have 10%. Go to where we have year 2. Year 2 is 0.8264. Go to year 3. The same case we have 0.7513. The same concept will happen with year 4 because ours was only ending at year 4, 0.6830. We can do that for all the periods that we are given. We can do that for all the periods that you are given. You can do that for all the periods that you can given. So this is how you can use your present value of interest table. Remember, at this point you are looking at it received as at the end of a certain period. You are receiving them at once. Received as at the end of a certain period. Received as at the end of a certain period. So that is what you should be having. That is what you should be having, my good students. Now, after we have talked of that, that is one case scenario which I believe right now we are good on that. The second concept that I'll also want us to grasp is, what if in this case we are dealing with situations that I am given this form of interest, say being paid semi-annually? How are we supposed to go about that? Consider this illustration question. Consider this illustration question, my good student. Consider this illustration question. Consider this illustration. Consider this illustration question of ours. Consider this illustration question of ours. This is what we are told. Consider this illustration question of ours. Calculate the present value. 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 Calculate the present value of 100,000 shillings. Of 100,000 shillings. Of 100,000 shillings. Expected after 6 years. 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 At an interest rate of 22%. 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 Paid semi-annually. Paid semi-annually. Paid semi-annually. Paid semi-annually. How are we supposed to go about that? Calculate the present value of 100,000 shillings expected after 6 years at an interest rate of 22%, paid semi-annually. How will you go about that, my good students? That will be simple because this is how we are going to go about it. So long as I know very well that to determine my present value, we are going to talk of the future value that I'm given. We multiply this one into 1 plus r raised to power negative n. In that case, I should be very good to work it out. So the only thing that we are going to do here, like in our state, I'm given 6 years at an interest rate of 22% paid semi-annually. If we are paying it on a semi-annually basis, this is how we are going to do. My period will change. And how will our period change, my good student? Our period will change so that at this point, my period, to work out our period, we will be talking of 6 years, right? But you are doing it semi-annually. So we multiply that one by 2. That should give us 12, number of period. Talk of our rate of interest. Talk of our rate of interest. Rate, I'm given 22%. This is per annum. That means semi-annually, I'm going to divide by 2. It will give us what? 11%. So I'm having our new period, and we do have our new rate that we are going to use. So what we are going to do there is just to substitute our figures there. It's just to substitute our figures here because I'll be talking of the future value that we are expecting is 100,000. We multiply by 1 plus our new rate here we've seen is what? 11%. So 0.11. Raised to power negative. Our period here we are talking of 12 periods, right? So raised to power negative 12. So that should give us how much, my good students? That should give us how much? We are going to talk of, let me pick my calculator. So in that case, we are going to talk of, we start with our factor, 1.11 raised power negative, this is 12, raised power negative 12, 0.2858, we multiply by 100,000. So that should give us 28,000. That should give us 28,000. So our interest, present value, the one that we should invest today should be 28,584, 584. So that is what we should invest today. This is what we should invest today for us to receive 100,000 after 6 years. And at this point, at an interest rate of 22%, and this interest is paid semi-annually. So that as at the end of the 6th year, I'm going to receive, or the amount that we should invest today is 28,584. That's a very important concept that I'll also want us to have in mind anytime we'll be talking about what? Present value at lump sum. Probably we can be given that concept, maybe the concept of semi-annually, and this is how we are supposed to go about it. That's how we're supposed to go about it. So that juncture, my good students, I'll want us to meet in the next session whereby we are going to look at discounting at annuity. So thank you so much, and let us meet in the next session. Thank you.